Not a bad piece of pasture ground. Yeah, we got a mess here, but so far, whenever we've had anyone from the state or the feds here, they all decide that we're doing the best we can and we're doing good enough, and they're going to leave it alone. Pile of rocks here because future son-in-law had some stuff to get rid of. They thought it was mostly smaller rock and reject, but that's out of a couple of loads. The rest of it was actually not quite reject like that, but more like that next pile, which all got used underneath some cows. Those are just a little big to put underneath in the lot. Those loads weren't supposed to have all the bigger rock in it. They did. I got to do something with them. We have leased this piece of ground between our property and the road for almost 40 years. We started leasing this because the dairy next door, which is a quarter mile down the road, where we usually winter the steers, and we usually run the yearling heifers and a bull in the summer. Yeah, they got old. One of them died, sold the cows, and they had another guy farming across the road. He came to him, said he wanted to farm this too. He wanted to rip this up and put corn in it. Well, back in those days, that bottom would be underwater fair share of the winter. Steep hill running down to it. There's 2 gullies in here that run a lot of stuff down there. So in self-defense, we said, hey, we want to rent that. It was on a handshake between my father and the neighbor men. Treat it as your own property. Do as you see fit. Take care of the fences on your own. All will be good. And so that's how it's been for, say, almost 40 years. They had somebody else leasing the barn and stuff across the road. So when they finally had 2 or 3 different people in there, when they finally got out of there, and they weren't doing anything any favors, they weren't keeping up on the weeds, and they weren't taking care of the ground. So we picked that up. In the meantime, everything we did, we were paying twice what crop ground rent would have been. We were paying it for pasture ground. Usually if you're on pasture, you pay by the animal unit, or you pay a set fee anyway. And the landowner is responsible for all fencing. If there's irrigation, they're responsible for all costs of irrigation. Well, we've incurred all of that over the years. The 2 that made the handshake deal, as of a little over a year and a half ago, both of them are dead. The other one's been gone for 20 years, I suppose. Other than occasional chat on the phone once in a while, nothing's ever gone on. We actually had a meeting. It's 3 girls that are left that own it. They're all well into their 60s and above. Had a meeting. Actually came here. We sat down, discussed things. They wanted more money. We explained to them, we're already paying you about 30% more than anybody else would. And, explained some of the things we do, because they don't pay any attention. One of the girls actually still lives in the old house down the road, and she's a recluse. She don't like her sisters. She don't get along with them. It's one of those things. She's got a life estate there no matter what they do. That was all put into their parents' will. We keep an eye on her. Always have. I got this stupid ass idiot that delivers a newspaper, and he can't put it in a paper box. He throws it either out in the field or out in the middle of the road, and we pick it up and put it in her box for her when we're down there. Little things like that. We keep the driveway up for her, and of course it's also for ourselves, but we only use a third of it. She's got to use the rest of it. And We keep the weeds sprayed out of it and keep the driveway graded. She stays active. She keeps the ditches dug so water drains, all that stuff. But as far as any maintenance down the road that we've had issues with, a bad pole in a barn or something, and due to the way they took the old dairy barn out, they screwed up another barn and refused to fix it. That was supposed to have been fixed 15 years ago and never did. Well, anyway, our meeting, which was last May, discussed everything and how it was going, and they were just happy as could be. You'd think that we just turned them on to sliced bread and butter. They never realized all the stuff we do, and they were so happy with it that, hey, everything looks great. We'll keep it going. I don't see any reason to change anything in the foreseeable future, is what they said. Well, we didn't realize that the foreseeable future was only going to be till the end of the year. They decided they wanted us to pay in advance. Well, you always pay on farm ground at the end of the year or after harvest. You never pay on it ahead of time. Never had anything that way. Especially, you'd hit us with a double whammy because our rent's due the end of December, and then you want another check the next day for the same amount. I'm sorry, our pockets aren't that deep. I mean, they'd have to wait till at least June when we start moving some hay, start getting something going before they'd have any money. And they didn't like that, I guess. I don't know. Then they wanted a written contract. Well, okay, we've been 40 years with a handshake. I understand that. There's a lot of people I won't do a handshake with anymore. Not because I don't trust them, just because other stuff happens. So, to add on to the story, Mom kind of figured up a contract, and it was so simple it wasn't funny. Just says, yep, we pay you this much at the end of the year. It was a draft, for God's sakes. We would like you to address these issues that you've refused to take care of that you said you would. And we didn't even touch on the ones that were really most important. It was the little ones. Oh God, 20 years ago, the county decided they had to put a new culvert in the road. They put a catch basin and it runs down that draw, middle of the picture. When that was done, this was supposed to get buried mainline for the irrigation. That never happened. The reason it was supposed to get buried mainline then was because most of the irrigation pipe was toast. It'd either been stomped on by the cows or, somebody run over it with something over the years. And it was just junk. Still is. Then they got mad at us for not keeping up on the irrigation. Well, when you don't have enough pipe laid out there, and most of the pipe that's over there was our own anyway, but when the main part we need, you can't keep it together no matter what you do. We had it tied together with bale and twine, whatever else. You'd spend 4 hours getting water to flow because you couldn't keep the lines together, which this last year I bypassed that. And we only ran our old stuff that was down there, and it worked. Anyway, see, this is Sunday, so was it last Wednesday? It's one of the girls' husbands that usually the contact, and just a bunch of BS. Can't never talk to the girls. He left a message on my wife's phone for me to call him. Well, of course, I find this out a couple hours later, and I call him and tell him he left a message on her phone for me, and instead of calling me, well, I guess I don't have your number. Bullshit, he's got my number. He's had my number in his phone for 10 years. Because funny thing, when I called him, he knew who it was, and I called him from my phone. Anyway, he wanted me to have coffee with him Thursday morning at some little yuppie sandwich shop between here and where they live. Well, I'm sorry. I got things going on. You think you want me to meet you there at 8 o'clock in the morning, and I got an appointment somewhere at 7:30, and I got another one at 9:30, and I got other things going on? You're not just going to demand me go have coffee with you right then. I can't make it. And well, we need to talk. Yep, I guess we do. So, had Mom try to get hold of his wife. Said, he says, well, okay, she's not here right now. She gets back, I'll see. Maybe this afternoon, maybe tomorrow. Okay, Friday at 3 o'clock, he calls, says, oh, we're on our way. No calling to see if we're home or nothing, see if we have a chance. Just we're on our way. So we drop everything. They come, they got this cute little letter sealed up in an envelope. It's got like 3 lines on it. Woohoo. It just says that they have chosen not to no longer let us have the property, and we need to get our stuff out of here. Okay, well, that pile was supposed to be base for underneath where they go in and out here to keep it from sinking to China. I got to get it out of here. That was going to be part of it. That was going to be part of it. Same with over there. That was all in here to help shore it up down here so they don't sink to China. I got to get it out of here. I got a place to put it. I just got to move some more equipment to be able to do it. They want us to get all the irrigation pipe picked up that's down there, which, we didn't get to it before the ground got too soft. Well, they want it out of there right now, which means I'm hoping today it works out where the girls will go down on the 4-wheelers and take some ropes and drag it all up. Government's moving the fence that's there. They're going to take up a good share of that bottom to go with that no man's land crop. So the guy is supposed to be out here moving the fence. Well, if he gets the fence moved before we get the pipe out of there, that's going to make it a lot harder on us. We've got 3 bays out of their 6-bay machine shed down there full of equipment I got to find a place to put. They decided that they don't want us taking any fences. Well, I'm sorry. When we rented the place, there was the perimeter fences and 1 fence down at the other end. We put all the cross fencing in originally. This cross fence right here where the calves are, that we actually had, believe it or not, about 5 feet down the hill from where it is. And it went over to the brace posts over there and went up to the road and came out at the road about 5 feet from where it does now. Well, in their government program stuff, they looked at, that fence is too far down the hill. It's too close to the ditch that's there. So they tore out our brand new fence, which we got absolutely no compensation for, and the government paid for the fence that is there now. This is just little things how it is. And by the way, we actually had cattle out here while they're doing it, so they're going so far till they can't. Then they're cutting the fence, so half of it's open. A bull and heifer's on this side of the fence and a bull and cow's on the other side of the fence, and they're cutting the fence. Smart. And we didn't even know they were here. We were in the field working. Come home to see guys out here and fence posts up and cows running around. We're going, what the hell? We spent the rest of the day separating animals. They don't give a shit. We just redid all the other cross fences. And luckily the gentleman they got moving those other fences is the same guy we use when we, he did this line fence down here, and he did up there along the driveway and down the road to brace post in the center of the screen there. By the way, they owe us for half of that stretch of fence. And that one up there, our driveway is abandoned county road. It is not our property. It is county property. It never reverted to our piece of property. So they owe us for that whole stretch. And since they want us to leave all the fencing there, I asked him, okay, we just did it last year, literally 2 weeks after we had our meeting with them, when they said, yep, you have it for the foreseeable future. And it's like, well, good, because we got to replace a bunch of fence. And that's what we're doing. Yeah. I asked, okay, we didn't pay attention to our time. I mean, I can figure the materials without too much trouble. So he says, okay, X number of dollars a foot. Every brace post you do, figure another $20 for labor. The X number of dollars per foot he figured is material and labor. together. She said that should cover it. So every set of brace posts is, say, an extra $20. We put railroad ties in where we needed it to either hold it down good or where it came over a hump and it needed to not sink. And all of those are, each railroad tie used is an extra $20 on top of the $3. What we came up with was their figure for that is about just shy of $5,400. And I'm sure they're going to bitch about it. And as for a time frame of getting stuff out of here, they wouldn't give us a time frame. Oh, you know, when you can get to it. Well, no, because you're bitching at me now. You want me to get the shit out of here now. So, you know, when do you want to have it done by? Well, I don't know what the weather's going to do. I can't get down in here to scoop this stuff out right now. It's too wet. I'm sinking in just walking out here. Getting the pipe drug up, well, that was planned to get done beforehand anyway, but the weather hasn't been conducive. I don't have a place for 2 semi-trailers, a combine, a swather, and 3 headers. I don't have the room here. So I've got to find places for all this. I've got to put some more fence up for these girls. Right now, the main cow lot comes back here to the second gate over there. You know, that's all in the middle of getting changed. You can see them hiding back there. Well, in order to leave room for these girls, I got to go down there just past where those cows are standing at the end and put a fence across there and let this group have that. Otherwise, they got nothing. Sure can't let them out in the pasture. They'll get out there and break their necks because they'll sink in deeper than they are up here. At least up here, there's a bottom under it. It's just muck on top. We never did get this section of line fence, from the corner of the shop building down to here done because we needed to figure out what we needed there for a gate and then go from there. And if it looks off, yeah, it's because it is, because that was never on the line. And actually, that's only been in here. That got replaced long after we were farming this, or long after we had this, I should say. That post right there is on the line where it belongs. So is from the shop up to the corner. And that new stretch down to the creek is all on the line. There is a 5-foot strip, though, along the creek, about 500 feet long or better, that they've been getting paid by the government for the government program stuff, and it belongs to us. It didn't bother me when we still had this pasture over here, but now that we don't, I think I'm going to make some waves with the government and ask why the hell you've been paying them for our ground. So it's been fun. Contract a year ago when we sat down and talked about it would have been the best deal, but you know, when you've been here this long and you don't expect this to happen. And say this was really a key piece. You know, we've lost other ground. Bother me? Yeah. Pissed me off, especially with the people that snuck in and hijacked it. Or the way they said it was going and find out that somebody snuck in and hijacked it. Well, we've never got reimbursed for any improvements we have done or anything we needed to do. It's going to be interesting because that county culvert comes down and it never used to get silted in down here, but the drainage down here silts in and plugs up the culvert. I clean it out every other year. Well, they start tearing our culvert out because it floods down here. They're going to figure it out because we'll take care of something there. Anyway, that's my gripe for the day.
And yes, us girls are very pissed.
Yeah, you heard number one. She says, us girls are really pissed.
Yeah. Beyond pissed, actually.
Of course, you know, we've had this their whole life. We were going to build the herd back up. We were running just about 80 brood cows at one point, until issues a couple years ago. And currently, due to those issues, we're still only at 40 brood cows, which We got 22 heifer calves. No, 20 heifer calves that we haven't got rid of yet. Guess what? Most of them got to go to the yards because there's no way. You know, they would be down the road here in about a month. Well, we can't put them down there. Can't put them here either. We'll probably have a bull for sale though. Don't need 3 bulls when you only got 20 cows or 40 cows. 2 bulls will do that, especially when they're both mature bulls. So this is my fun shit.
You still want to watch that calf or try to get her to nurse?
Thanks for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Hit the like button if you haven't. And say yay, the fun part. I'm probably going to have to just bring the hoe over and scoop that stuff 1 scoop at a time and bring it up to where the gravel's underneath it, where I can get it with a skid steer. I don't know. And they decided they didn't like the fact that the rock was out here underneath the feeder and the rock to get to it.
Which has been here for years.
And, you know, that was discussed about 25 years ago when we very first started feeding out here. It was fine before when there was a manure pile that literally went from the shop wall out to those creep feeders and 10 feet tall. That was fine with them. The state didn't like it as much, but they were not after us about it. They just kind of said, you know, if you're going to have it there, you need to cover it. That's great. All the water ran under it. Didn't run over it. So, okay, I'm going to leave you with this. Oh yeah, by the way, those 2 bales were, you know, nice and fresh bales when they had to have their little meeting with us the other day. And there was a phone call in December that they weren't happy that we weren't paying up front. And oh, you're gonna have to do something with the animals out front. And Mom says, well, do you want me to do it right now? And, oh no, it's fine for now. But you got to do something. You got to change the way you're feeding. They think that whatever mess is here is going to come back on them. Well, we're the landowners. They're gonna no. They come back on the operator. They don't come back on the landowner. That's why we have had the state out. That's why we've had people from the SCS office out. You know, they've seen it. They know what we're doing. They've always been fine with it. Man, I haven't seen anybody for about 3 or 4 years now, but realistically, it's better now than it was then. 3 or 4 years ago was a pretty bad year, and everything was pretty messy, but you know, they saw how we had it, so it would drain to where it didn't go to the creek, and it had to run through a whole bunch of grass to go anywhere, and that was all good. Okay, this is way too long of a video. Y'all have a good day. I'm going to have some fun. Got to make it look like we weren't here, I guess. The worst thing is, before these girls can get moved, we got to build the fence, and I got to get one of those feeders out of there so they'll have some place to go eat when they get moved. All right, everybody, thanks for watching. These are my woes. So I can't get anything else done because I got to do this.